You are listening to KC Sports Network, the #1 podcast network for today's Kansas City sports fans. With former players from your favorite teams, informed perspectives, and former insiders, this is the place for you. KC Sports Network is proudly presented by Emprise Bank, your partner in possible.
Welcome, everybody, to the Border War podcast on the Kansas City Sports Network. We're presented by 360 Vodka. My name is Jarrett Sutton. I'm always honored to be joined by my dude, my partner, Jeff Hawkins. Jeff is the head coach of the Pembroke Hill Raiders here in KC, and I know you got a couple practices under your belt. We got basketball back, Jeff. Here we go. How excited?
Yeah, I'm so excited. Obviously being able to start with my high school team, which is on the Missouri side. So, hopefully I could, get a little somewhat of a clap from some Missouri
That's right.
people.
You're a Missouri
I'm living on the
resident
Missouri
now, man.
side. Yeah, come
You're
on.
a Missouri resident now, man. Rep it hard, rep it proudly. Rep it proudly.
I'm excited, to be able to get back and be with my high school guys. But obviously, we're here to talk some college basketball, obviously Missouri and KU. But I love it. I love this time. Good to talk to some Mizzou basketball. I love the direction. You know how I am about this, Jared. I get hyped when I talk about this. Missouri got to keep winning.
That's right, man.
We got that rivalry going. So I want you guys to win.
Hey,
sorry, Kansas fans. I want you guys to win. It makes the rivalry better.
Me and you were in Lawrence, Kansas. We did a pregame show. Yeah. We kind of knew how this game was going to go, and it lived up to the bar last year in the worst way possible. So hopefully, we're bringing this rivalry back and a little bit more competitive. Man. It's coming. Exciting times for the Missouri basketball program. There's a lot to cover, and it felt like, I think, we covered Mizzou last year, and that last month it was like, we got to find something to talk about. Yeah. And now we got so much to talk about. You got a lot. Let's start at the top. We'll talk about Dennis Gates, who was hired this spring, came from Cleveland State, led Cleveland State to back-to-back regular season Horizon League championships, first time since '86. Gates rebuilt that program. He won 50 games. He went 39-19 over his last two seasons. He was tabbed as the Horizon League Coach of the Year in 2019, 2020, and 20 and 21. Yeah. Terrific coach. Broke the 20-win plateau last year. That was the first time for the program since 13 and 14, and also led them to a tournament berth in 2001 for the first time in 12 years. So you talk about a young head coach, and I've got to know Coach Gates. He's been Jeff, you'll love this. I've never been more connected back to the program than I am with Coach Gates. Yeah. He really is bought into like the history of the program, learning about the alumni that have made the program what it is. The Melvin Bookers of the world, the Kareem Rushes of the world.
Yeah, come on, man. Hey, come on, man. I'll get hyped with them names. Come on, man.
I know. It's that era. It's the eras of Mizzou basketball, and he gets it. He hasn't coached a game yet, but everything he's done this offseason, not just with the roster, but he's been everywhere. He's shaking hands with the fans. He's coming to Kansas City multiple times. He's going to St. Louis. He's out on the road recruiting. He's putting a roster together very quickly, turning an entire roster around of 11 plus newcomers. It's a lot. But you look at his tenure at Florida State. He was there for 8 years. He had 4 straight top 15 classes at Florida State. So he's got the recruiting piece too. He comes from Florida State, where they had developed a lot of lottery picks at Florida State. He had 7 top 100 players in the Seminoles during his tenure. And that's a great number.
Yes, it is.
And him and Charlton Young say a lot. They're looking for pros, and that's what they want to identify. They want to go out and be aggressive and try to get in the mix. I saw him down in Orlando at the NBPA Top 100 camp, and they were mingling with everybody. And it just looks like they're very respected within the coaching circle too. You talk to a lot of coaches, and they're like, Coach Gates is a guy that Mizzou fans should be really proud of. And I agree with that. Coach Gates, also a former player at Cal. He was a combo guard there. Got to give a shout out, 3-year captain. So this is he's a leader. There's no question about it. That's his DNA. He did work in skill development with the LA Clippers back in 2002. But Coach Gates just has really done so much in a short amount of time when you look at his age, but also getting Charlton Young, who was at Florida State for 9 years under Leonard Hamilton, 8 NCAA tournament appearances, 13 NBA draft picks. The success of Leonard Hamilton speaks for itself. He's a Hall of Fame head coach, in my opinion. But as you know, head coaches are only a reflection of their staff and their players.
Yeah.
And Dennis Gates and Charlton Young are a big part of that success at Florida State. And Leonard Hamilton will tell you that. You look at what Coach Gates has taken over, a 12-21 team a year ago. They were 5-13 in league play. They were one of the worst three-point shooting teams in the SEC. They were one of the worst offensive teams in the SEC. And they've completely overhauled the roster. They got a talented kid in Isaiah Mosley that's going to be coming in this year that Mizzou fans are really high on. But you talk about 12 newcomers to the program. That's so much to try to build culture and build chemistry and build camaraderie, as you know. I'm going to ask you from a coaching standpoint, because you took over a program not that long ago. What's that first year like? Because you're trying to build not only trust within your team, but you're also trying to solidify yourself for the future too, in a lot of ways. And I think that's what I think, listeners would really be interested in, just because this is Coach Gates taking over a new program at a high level, a lot of expectations. I know there's so much expectations on you as well as a head coach. And how do you manage that, I guess, is my question.
Yeah, I would say, I think it's a couple ways to do that. When, for me, it was, a little give and take. I let the players, I gave them a little slack so I could make them feel comfortable, gain their trust. And then, eventually, I, kind of pulled that leash in a little bit and kind of made my points, but really tried to gain their trust. That was my biggest thing. And I think I said there's a couple ways of doing this, because, when we had that transition from Coach Williams to Coach Self, when Coach Self came in, it was literally like, you doing it my way. Like, right. It's no compromise. Like,
different expectation. Yeah. Different expectation.
Yeah. So, I think with me, I just think it depends on the coach, and that's the tricky part, trying to find that balance. I think, is trying to find that balance between, what to do, what not to do, how much slack to give them, how much not to give them in that first year. How stern can you be? You're still trying to figure out how players respond to you when you get on them, when you praise them. So it's more of a learning curve that first year. No matter, to me, that's how it was. No matter if it's good or bad, it's just a learning curve. So, but it just kind of depends on that coach on how they want to attack it. Do they want to be ultra aggressive, super passive, somewhere in the middle? Just kind of depends.
Yeah. And I think too, with Coach Gates, really, and I think this is why I give him a lot of credit, because again, it's year one. He's trying to put a roster together.
Yeah.
He brings in three fifth-year seniors from Cleveland State. Yeah. Two of them were Horizon Defensive Player of the Years in Demoy Hodge and Trey Gomillion. Those three, they know what's expected of a Coach Gates practice, what's expected in the classroom, what's expected off the floor. How you handle treatment, how you handle bus rides, how, like all the things of the details of a program. Because like you said, it's so different when a new coach comes in. We had this with Frank Haith when Mike Anderson left. It was very different. There were things that stayed the same, but there were things that changed as well. But you add some familiarity when you bring in those type of transfers. And in today's day and age, I think it's good for, a Jerome Tang and a Dennis Gates and some of these new head coaches, because with transferring being what it is, you can retool your roster in a lot of ways. Now, a lot of coaches don't want to see that roster overhaul. You want to keep guys. But the fact is, they added three guys that have veteran experience. They've won. Yes, it was in Horizon League, but, you got two Defensive Players of the Year. Demoy Hodge can score it and he can shoot it. That's the big thing. He's got to shoot a little bit better than he did last year, but I think he's capable as a shooter. But DeAndre, Trey, and Demoy, those guys are hungry to prove themselves.
Yeah.
They hear
bigger
that
stage.
noise.
Heck yeah.
It's a bigger stage. They've won and they got nothing else to lose. This is their next step. It's the biggest stage they'll play on. I think that's really interesting. Nick Honor is a graduate student. Get that point guard that has played in the ACC, has a great assist to turnover. He was not a high level scorer. He didn't play he played 25 minutes a game. He was strictly a facilitator. Nick can shoot the ball a little bit. So I think it's going to be a chance for him to maybe show a little bit. He's another older guy. But the guys that I really want to focus in on, Isaiah Mosley out of Missouri State.
Yeah.
The finalist, back-to-back years.
Columbia
kid. National Player of the Year award a couple of years. He averaged 20 a game a year ago, 6 rebounds, 2 assists. I didn't realize this. I was looking at this today. Isaiah became one of the 3 Division I players in the last 20 years to shoot over 50% from the floor, 40% from 3, and 90% from the line. So he's a 50-40-90 guy.
That's tough.
At any level. I mean, that's a Division I level. It's Missouri State, it's Missouri Valley.
Tough.
This dude can score. And everything I know about Isaiah is when the lights come on and it's game time, that dude can absolutely go. He can score it. The big thing for Isaiah is doing it at the SEC level and defending. It's going to be a different competition level. I think he's going to love that. And I think it's going to mean we're going to see even more, hopefully, of Isaiah Mosley as a defender as well.
Hey, and listen, and not to cut you off, but this is a kid too who's grew up. Mm-hmm. I mean, he lives it and breathes it. So
that's right.
And for him, who knows? He may have had thoughts like, man, I wish I could have got my offer coming straight out from Missouri. Now I have that chance. So I mean, there's so much that can transpire, especially from a home kid, being in this situation, and he's got game. It's not like he's got game. So it's gonna be fun. I mean, it's gonna be fun. I mean, Jared, it's gonna be fun watching this team.
Absolutely.
Like, I mean, you guys are loaded from a standpoint as far as like when you talk about, I talk about those seniors, juniors, those when you got experienced juniors and seniors, man. I just feel like your program is in hands. They know what to do. It doesn't matter if guys are coming from different schools. They're seniors. Like seniors, they get it a different way, and then they know it's their last year. Juniors, they know they got their time is coming close, and you guys have a good pack squad, and you haven't even mentioned my man Kobe.
That's right. I was headed for it. You beat me to it.
Kobe,
but, our boy Kobe's back, and I think to kind of tie in with Isaiah, I think the best thing about this team is Kobe Brown can go back to a role he's best suited in.
Yep.
He doesn't have to be a playmaker. He doesn't have to be a ball handler. He can be Kobe Brown, who's a great 3-4 combo off the ball that can score around the block, great rebounder. I think can make spot shots when he doesn't force and he doesn't feel like he has to be that. That some guys are wired to be the dude. Some guys don't want to be that. So, some guys want to. They're great in their role. They're great playing off other talents. And I think with Kobe, getting Isaiah and having a primary ball handler and having a couple point guards that I think can pass. Sean East is another one they got that will come off the bench. But Kobe, preseason first team All SEC, and I think a guy that he didn't shoot it that well from three. But you look at, he was a second-team All-SEC player a year ago, started all 33 games, led Mizzou in scoring and rebounding. He was sixth in rebounds per game in the SEC. But I look at his double-doubles. He was ninth in the league, and his free throw percentage was also top 10. So you talk about a guy that impacted the game in a lot of ways. He wasn't a top scorer in the league, but great rebounder, great free throw shooter. That really had games where he dominated. Now I
love that dude's game.
Yeah,
and how many times do we say this too? If he had a little bit more help, or if he didn't have to do it all, he doesn't got to do it all, which may allow him to get even more because now focus is going to be going to some other guys, and now Kobe can just say, let me get a couple here, let me get a couple there. So it's going to be fun to see Kobe with a little bit more help and a very energized, who has this program very excited, Dennis Gates.
Yep. I think too, like Kobe, he's reached 500 career rebounds. He's only second active SEC junior. Like he's a junior and he's already at 500 rebounds. I mean, that's a testament to the blue collarness of Kobe. That's what he is. But you touched on it, like last year, how many times it was frustrating watching him because you'd see Kobe Brown with the ball and there'd be three guys, waiting for him. And he's an aggressive physical driver and attacker. He can play on the block, but he's drawing double teams, and I think this will allow him to play in space. I think there's just more opportunities for him to have a more efficient game. So I don't want people to lose sight. Kobe Brown is a player, and it was a big deal that he stayed. I think that was huge. You had to have a guy with that SEC caliber experience, proven experience, getting him what was a big get. The other guy that I will give a shout out to, another Kansas City kid, Aiden Shaw, 4-star recruit, explosive athlete, very explosive. He was the 2022 Dorena Award winner a year ago as Kansas City's best area basketball player. He scored 21 a game as a senior, had 11 rebounds a game. He won the high school slam dunk contest at the NCAA Final Four. I know that made all the rounds. And look, he is a athlete. I mean, he gets off the floor. I didn't realize it until I went to practice a couple weeks ago at Mizzou. And I mean, he glides off the floor. He gets off the floor so effortlessly. He's still a freshman. He's still learning. It's going to be a different level, but I'm really excited about this kid. And the thoughts are that he's already getting used to things. He's getting a little bit better in different areas.
Yeah.
He's still going to be a little raw, and there's going to be ups and downs with him. But you're going to see some plays from Aiden Shaw that you go, whoa, I haven't seen that in a long time in this building. He is that athletic.
You know what? This year, like, you guys got bodies, and you know, you got transfer red shirts, or seniors that have transferred in. Man, those practices, they're gonna get down, and I think, you know, you practice how you play, and when you can go up against good competition in practice, it's going to prepare you for the game, prepare you for what they call, quote unquote, the war. So, and you guys got the bodies to really be able to push yourself. Obviously, with any team, they want to keep their health, and obviously, knock on wood, every team. I hope every team in NCAA can keep their health. Obviously, I don't know if that's going to work out, but you guys got the bodies to be able to push each other in practice. So it's going to be fun to see definitely where you guys amount to for the year.
Another thing I think Coach Gates really identified on, I wanted to touch on, is when you look up and down this roster, Jeff, it's guys that have come from winning programs. Yeah. So you talk about Cleveland State, Noah Carter at Northern Iowa. He's a critical part of the Panthers' regular season MVC championship. He is a sneaky, he's 6'6", about 230. And you won't look at him and think, oh, he's an athlete, but he plays so hard. He's got some sneaky athleticism to him, and they really think he shot 29% from three. They expect him to be much higher than that. He looks like he can really shoot the ball. That was a big get for them in terms of getting a transfer that can come right in, play, has that experience like we touched on with all these other guys. They're bringing in winning players. They also got the number one JUCO out of the Kansas Jayhawk community area. That's Mohamed Diarra, who is the number one rated JUCO recruit in 2022. That was a big get. He's a double waiting to happen. He averaged 17 and 12, high energy, live body, active. Yeah. He had 71 blocks in 3 games. You need rim protection in the FCC. That is the biggest knock I've probably had on Mizzou's personnel wise, is they've just not had a true big that can compete against the SEC bodies. They just haven't had that. They have a couple options now. Mo's probably going to be the guy they look to. They also got Major Mayock from South Sudan. He's a 7'2" kid. He's pretty raw. He's a former 3-star guy. He's got 3 years of eligibility. I think he's more of a long-term play, but they're identifying some size that I think.
Body after body after body after body. I mean,
you got to have size. You got to have length. You have guys that are athletic. You have to have guard play. I mean, you know this. You just you can't have a one-trick pony. No, you can't. Not in today's
teams are too smart for that, man. It's too many analytics behind all this stuff now.
Right. You got to have personnel and you got to have a bench. But I'm really excited for Mizzou fans to see this Isaiah Mosley kid.
Yeah.
Because you know this, Jeff. When you're around a guy that is just a natural scorer, and there's other things that Isaiah Mosley's got to do. Yeah. This kid, I watched him a couple times last year, and he can go off at any time. That he is that good of a shooter. He's that skilled off the bounce. We'll see how he progresses into a different league. Yeah. And obviously the scouting report's going to be out. That's going to be the next thing for him in his development. But you look at the difference between last year when we talked about this team going into the year.
Yeah.
There were a lot of guys. I wasn't so sure what we were going to get out of them going into the year and how they were going to fare in league play. Yeah. This roster is much different. This roster, they got proven guys. They got some guys that maybe are overlooked or maybe played at lower levels, but they have had some success and they've won at a high level. And I think that's a good foundation to start for with Dennis Gates.
It sounds like they've bought in to what he's doing so far. And it doesn't matter, lower level, higher level guys. As a coach, when you can get guys to buy in and you can tell them run through that wall and they're going to try it, that's a scary thing.
Yep. Coach Gates too, and just going to see how he operates. And I always love going to practice because you got to get a sense of kind of just, how they operate, what stands out to them. And the biggest thing is he is so detailed. He is a very good teacher. There's purpose behind everything he says. He doesn't just stop practice to stop practice. He lets him go when he needs to let him go. But there's times where he'll stop it, and he stops it for a reason. And it's great when you see him stop it and you see the players look him dead in the eye. Like there is a legit, he's a smart, driven, focused guy. And he also is working his tail off as an evaluator and knowing he's got to recruit. And he's already got some players lined up where you think, okay, he's really starting to get in on maybe some guys Mizzou hasn't been in on in a long time. So it's exciting time for Mizzou.
Oh,
Mizzou does open on Monday as well. They open against Southern Indiana. It's going to be a fun year for the Tigers and Tiger fans, and I think a lot to be optimistic about as we go into
for sure. Heck yeah, let's get that rivalry up, baby.
It's on, man. December 10th. Can't come here fast enough, Jeff.
I know, baby.
Can't come here fast enough. Well, Jeff, appreciate it. Everyone, thanks for tuning in and listening. We're so thankful for 360 Vodka. Shout out to them for sponsoring the Border War podcast, and we'll talk next week after a couple Mizzou games.